Hi, I'm Ed Mullins. Welcome to Inside Blue 360. With me today, I have Dr. Darin Porcher, and I like to describe as artist, activist, and patriot, Scott LoBaido. Everyone by now probably knows who Scott LoBaido is. He's painting blue lines all over the city of New York in support of law enforcement. Scott, I really want to welcome you. I'm a big fan. I've been watching what you have done in the city, just really out of support for law enforcement and for the country. We're in a very challenging time right now. The country itself, particularly the city of New York, we're faced with terrible leadership coming from City Hall, Mayor de Blasio, most dysfunctional mayor in the city of New York. Graffiti all over the streets, graffiti all over the city-owned buildings. We have him painting Black Lives Matter in streets with no permits, as we're now learning. You take a position to support law enforcement, get out and paint some blue lines around the city of New York, and become a victim of, I'm going to say, abuse of power. Tell me, what happened?
I'm going to say it's also kind of a discrimination kind of thing, because I'm known to be a conservative-leaning artist. I've been that way in the city for a long time. New York City doesn't have any conservative artists. You're looking at them, so I've always had that, that the art world. Look, I've been an artist my whole life, and I found my calling, my patriotic calling, per se, with my artwork back in the 90s when I went to go find myself in the big city. I'm from Staten Island, and it's like, you want to make it in the art world, you got to go to New York City. And I went, and there I am. And there was this one gallery that had a flag on the floor as a welcome mat.
Yeah, kills me.
Okay, and then I just hear all of this. It's America sucks. It's America's fault. America is oppressive. That flag is a Nazi symbol of, and I'm like, this is the effing art world? The art world? See, we artists, we have more freedom than everybody else. You guys, we get to test the boundaries of the First Amendment. It's beautiful. And I figured the artist should be the most patriotic, because we have this unbelievable First Amendment to step over that line. And I said, I don't want any part of this. I can't be part of this. My grandmother had the flag in front of our house when we were playing around, because Grandpa was in the big one. I had uncles in Vietnam. I had cops and firemen and veterans in my family. So that patriotic thing was embedded in us as a child, And to go into the art world in America, to find my niche, and I was like, I'm out of here. I don't care how rich you can make me or how famous. I don't want an effing thing from you. This is disgusting. Here's my calling. Here's my calling. I'm gonna bring that flag back to life. I'm gonna show what's beautiful about America, what's good about America. Yeah, we got problems, we got flaws. Of course we do. That's what makes us perfect, is that we strive to get better. We're only 244 years old.
Right.
In this world stage, Did we have racial problems? Yeah. Let me tell you something. My mother brought me up, very liberal woman, God rest her soul. She brought me up to love everybody. Her advice was, son, whatever you do in life, do it as long as you believe it in your heart, and take care of the less fortunate. Okay, my father's advice was, listen to your mother, but also take shit from nobody. So that's who I am right now. But back to, if I was on a bus in 1960 or whatever it was, and some white dude got up and told Rosa Parks to go to the back of the bus, I'd be in jail and that guy would be in the hospital.
It's because of the way you brought up.
That's because of the way I was brought up. Right. So the art world, here I am. I'm a compassionate man, but I'm still a conservative. I proudly support my president. And they lose their shit. I don't exist. Even though I'm kind of famous now.
Right.
But they don't see me. They don't want me to be. Right. So the moral of the story is, here I am. I'm that conservative artist, and I'm proud of it.
Scott, I have a lot of respect and admiration for you. I'm a prior Army officer. I worked thank you. Thank you.
No. Thank you.
I worked in the NYPD for 20 years. I was a lieutenant in the NYPD, so I understand the practitioner's model in connection with patriotism. Ed is a current active sergeant in the NYPD. So we both have a conservative value that propels us forward. But at the same token, you as a common citizen to be willing to erect a mural that's in commemoration of us as law enforcement officers is very, very unique, and I really can't tell you how happy and proud I am to be sitting next to you in connection with addressing this issue. But moving forward, you're very Staten Island, by the way, Scott.
That's another reason the art world didn't like me either, because I was from Staten Island.
It's okay, forget about it, and that's fine. That's fine, right? Very Italian, and it's okay, right? You know, it's funny. I'm a black guy, right? I refer to it as mozzarella cheese. Black people call mozzarella.
Yeah.
You call it mozzarella, correct?
Mozzarella.
Right. So
Yeah.
you know that's
You
our
call
difference.
it ricotta. It's ragout.
Right.
Yeah.
We call it ricotta, actually,
all
right?
right,
But that's the black in me. But more importantly, the reason why I bring that to the forefront is we have three people from tremendously different backgrounds, but we're able to engage in a discourse that's sound. There's been a state of acrimony that's been plaguing us as New Yorkers. There's been a split between conservatives and liberals that's ultimately driving the ecosystem of hate. That's not who we are as New Yorkers. So when I look at what you're doing, how you're defending the blue, or quote unquote backing the blue, I think that this is tremendous. And you're speaking from the perspective of being a common citizen. I think you're speaking in connection with the silent majority. The loud minority is who we hear regularly to speak to FTP, defunding police, and just driving this angry sentiment that's subsequently causing our society to spiral out of control. When we look at places like Portland, Oregon, Chicago, Seattle, Washington, we hear the defunding sentiment that's driving for a separation of police. But the truth of the matter is, police are public servants. Police want to have that symbiotic relationship with community. But we have this wedge from organizations such as Black Lives Matter and Tifa that are driving this separation, and that's really creating a state of acrimony. So you as a common citizen, you're doing something that's an extreme aberration. And I can't tell you how proud I am for your courage. What got you to saying that, hey, look, you know what, I know you're an artist, and I know you speak from an abstract mind in creation, but what was the straw that broke the camel's back that got you to say, look, you know what, I'm tired of this negative sentiment that's being drawn towards police officers, and I want to do something that represents police officers?
That's funny you asked me. Well spoken. Everything you said was perfect.
Ed gave me the cliff notes, okay? So I got the notes under here.
I can't write that long.
There's a lot involved, and I'm trying to also, and I'm glad you give me this opportunity to be on the radio. You know, when I'm on the news, I get 2 minutes to say this, and that, and I don't really get into the story about what is happening from my perspective as an artist, but also as, you know, again, this is why the art world hates me, because I'm not this hoity-toity, well-spoken, pronounce my R's, and I'm a different gender or something. I'm Scott LoBaido from Staten Island, New York. I'm a regular guy, but I'm also a pretty good artist with some great ideas, and they can't comprehend that. So back to the blue line. I've been supporting the police for a long time. Again, I'm from Staten Island, and what is Staten Island? It's a community that has lots of police officers in my family as well. And when I made the decision to do that blue line down the street, I really think, because I've been an activist for a long time, I've been arrested a few times stepping over that line, and it was like, okay, everybody's like, okay, they put Black Lives Matter right there by the Precinct 120. You got to do something right by it, or do something on it. Like, no. BLM, okay, although I have a problem with their antics of violence and destruction, which defeats the purpose of the movement. They have a movement, and I say that. And every rally I have and anything I do when I support the police, especially with this going on, I specifically say, I had a rally at the 122 about 3 weeks ago. It was called Boost the Morale of the Blue. That's what it was. And I said to everybody in my social media and on promoting this, I said, if anybody thinks they're gonna come to this rally and spew anti-BLM rhetoric, I will remove you myself. This is not about that. That's their own thing. That's not about that. This is what angers me, okay, is not the BLM movement, okay? It's the young, white, college misguided youth who hijacked BLM. And I'm very upset that the BLM, the black community, who has a movement, that they are letting them hijack their movement. They don't give two shits about that movement. I know these people. This is a to hijack. Listen, you might have heard this, okay? And if you haven't, people, Google it. Malcolm X did a speech in the 50s or early 60s. It was about the white liberal, okay? The white liberal, how he is the fox, how you do not see him, and how he is hijacking the movement. This is Malcolm X saying this. It's a brilliant speech, it's short, and it's exactly where we are right now. It's a shame that that's happening. So, they anger me more. Those are the ones that you see in Portland now. I just took a snapshot of a rally in Portland, a protest. I didn't see one black person. Not one. Not one. It's been 8 weeks, and I don't hear the name George Floyd.
No one talks about it
They
anymore.
don't say it. They're trying to push their agenda.
Yeah.
And I hate to bring it to this level of,
The violence
separation.
is
but
now in the black community as a result of this hijacking, and the real victim
and not enough people are
is the
talking
kid in
about
the
it.
street and the communities of poverty they're suffering in. Where is everybody to say anything about it? No one's saying a word.
You know what's interesting? This is something that doesn't come up. Ed Mullins is the only police union head that is trying to engage the community. Ed, why don't you speak to us briefly about how you bring in the community into the equation in terms of healing that rift between police and
It
community?
kind of goes to what you said in the very beginning about patriot and activist. This country, there's no greater country, and there's no greater city. And I really admire you've taken that position to draw attention to the flag. It bothers me when I see what happens with it. But understanding people, there are people in poor communities, minorities, blacks, Hispanics, who are left out there. And as a cop, I've experienced this my whole career. And we do a terrible job of embracing that and opening up doors. And as a police union, as a family priest I know said, you have a podium, use it. And you reach out. So we started reaching out to the clergy, ironically back to the church, and they're in the field with the people in the community. And the dialogue that goes back and forth has been great, but a lot of it's the same as what we're talking about. They want exactly what we all want. Someone said to me, what's the difference between the black American dream and a white American dream? And I said, I don't know what. They said, there is no difference. And it's true. It's true. Why? Because black community's patriots. There's patriots there. There's patriots
I'm a
in the
patriot.
Hispanic community. So, that's a silent group of people who is not out there, defending the flag and jumping in, because sometimes they just can't based on where they live. There's opposition, there's fear, there's things along those lines. But there's plenty of patriots. You just said it. You served in the Army, right? So there's
20 years.
There's plenty. And what you're doing and what I'm trying to do, what you're trying to do, is draw attention that the message in that white group of people that's out there is wrong. It's totally wrong. No one talks about George Floyd anymore. No one says a word about it. And by doing this, hopefully we have a podium and a platform to get this out, because the cops are not the bad guys, and I know it. You would die for me as fast as I would die for you. We're sitting in radio cars together. And why? Because that's the way we were all brought up. We were brought up, core values, beliefs.
This is esprit de corps.
And I respect liberal opinions, Democrat, no different than we all do. I know that to be true just from speaking with you guys. But at the end of the day, it's about a much bigger picture. It's about the United States of America. That's what this is about.
It really
And
is.
we lose track, because the news media is not covering the stories. We're going to get this out on podcast. You've been unfairly treated, totally unfairly treated by the mayor, by the politicians of the city, and you're so right that you get to push the First Amendment. Artists, writers, media people always get to push the First Amendment, and you must push it right to the edge, and if not even over the edge, that establishes new law. And I could tell you that law enforcement supports you, 100%. We support you. They won't let you paint on the streets, they don't want you to paint. Well, I want you to paint the 2021 SBA card, and you can paint whatever you like on it.
I am
We will
honored.
send that card nationwide,
honored.
and everyone's going to know Scott
That is
LoBaido is a
done.
patriot.
You got it.
You use
Awesome.
your judgment. You put out what you want on that card, but this is a much bigger picture.
Do I get one with my name on it?
You get definitely one with your name on. You'll have the only one that says SBA artist. Never been done before. SBA artist, but
Oh, definitely.
so.
You know, you're leaving out something that's really important. Get a close-up of this tie.
Yeah.
This is a Hermes tie that's being worn by Ed Mullins.
That's because you recommended I do that.
Those of you that think a union leader doesn't dress with class, that's very mistaken. Look at what this guy is
Make sure
wearing.
you tell
And another
somebody-
thing
and
that you
tell them it was a
don't
gift.
It was
another
a
thing
gift. It was a gift.
another thing that you don't realize is the tie matches the paint stripes. So this is a very coordinated effect in terms of the way Ed Mullins
And that's
is
without
dressed.
power in the house right now.
See,
you know?
no powder. But, you know, I want to get to, Ed, you very, very great sentiment in terms of where we stand as law enforcement officers and, more importantly, as patriots. Scott, when I listen to the things that you're doing here, you are revolutionizing a culture that seems as if it's been receding from years on end. Cancel culture is at the forefront, and you have a silent majority that's unwilling to counter the resistance of this loud majority. And so I say that to say this. You're coming from the borough of Staten Island, which is probably our most conservative borough in the city. But when we look at the conservative elected officials in the city, we have very few. We only have 3, to say the least. We have three Republicans. Everyone else is a Democrat. That being said, we have shootings that are destroying this city. Right now, we're in July. We have more shootings this month. We have more shootings year to date up to July than we did for all of 2019. There's really a dangerous precedent that's being set forth in terms of the agenda from our political officials. The tea leaves reflect that if you don't take necessary action from a law enforcement perspective, the propensity for violence is going to be meteoric. That being said, you're backing the blue line. One of the things that people fail to realize is all you want to do is just speak to what works best for our reality. It's not a monolithic approach and look, you know what, it's the cops, I'm behind the cops no matter what. You're focused on the betterment of society. We have a situation that's happening here now, which is quite similar to yours. Blue Lives Matter they're attempting to erect a Blue Lives Matter mural in front of One Police Plaza. This has been introduced to the mayor's office, and I don't got to tell you what the mayor's reaction was. The same as yours in connection with the response that you got from the mayor's office. You cannot do it. But as it relates to when you look at the precedents in other places, just in California, for example, you had a liberal mayor that erected a Black Lives Matter mural, and then there was the intent to erect a Blue Lives Matter mural. It went to court, and the Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter mural is subsequently being turned down because it is now an infringement upon the constitutionally protected rights. If you do for one group, you have to do for the other. That being said, how are you looking to advance or expand this campaign to other areas as opposed to the one station house that you targeted to? I shouldn't use the term targeted, but where you erected this mural. If you're looking to do this in other places, tell us where and tell us how we can help you as a community.
Right now, I got some legal issues that are very good that I'm dealing with just this thing, and that story I'm keeping warm. There's other people that can take over now. I set the trend.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Back to the blue line, and you brought up a point about what it means, why I'm doing this blue line. It's somebody wrote an editorial, and it was uplifting and flattering about what I've done for veterans and stuff in America and my charity work. And then he went right into the blue line of how it was looked at as divisive. It was dividing. And he gave me the opportunity to rebut for a rebuttal, and it was a beautiful piece I wrote back. And I said, my friend, this blue line, and me painting this blue line, you call me a divider. I am not a divider. What you should be calling me is a balancer. Okay, back to what you said before. This is not tit for tat. BLM, street art. Actually, I'm an artist. I think it looks cool. Forget about what it means, I think it's a cool work of art. But this is my work of art. From not just my point of view, from a big part of the community's point of view. If there's anybody that I ever run into that does not believe that Black Lives Matter, I'll never talk to you again. You're out of your effing mind. Of course they matter. But so do the lives and the sacrifices of the men and women in blue. Why now? Why right now? Because right now the police department is so demoralized more than ever before. It fluctuates like everything else, like patriotism. You're here, okay? What does that blue line do? That blue line separates chaos and anarchy from civilization. What else does that blue line represent? It represents memorializing the men and women in blue who run into a burning building, jump into a freezing river to save a baby, run into gunfire, okay, and lose their lives. Okay, that's what that blue line means. That blue line that I did, that work of art, does not mean F you, BLM. It has nothing to do with that. And I get the racist labeling all the time. But I go to sleep at night like a baby because my mother taught me. I don't have a racist bone in my body. She sent us to the worst school, one of the toughest schools in Park Hill, in Staten Island, Dreyfus 49. Us three little white boys from Dongan Hills, because my mother wanted us to get culture, wanted us to get a little tougher and see the world a different way. So I go to sleep at night. And you have, who's labeling me as a racist? Not the black community. The little, young, white, art, open-minded, tolerant left. They hate my guts because, one more thing about art. I put up, in the middle of this whole thing, when everything was happening with BLM and everything, in my community in Staten Island, I made a sculpture. Beautiful sculpture. Made it quick, out of duct tape and wire, and a ladder, a wood ladder, and this stick with a peace sign on it, with the American flag painted on it. And the ladder was being pushed up to reach for the peace sign by two black figures. They were children's sizes, and two white figures. And I don't know how we get this solved, this racial tension solved. I have some ideas, but here was me just putting this up in front of Borough Hall, just to let people say, let's work together. That's all it was. Yeah, I'm a Trump supporter. Yeah, so what? Does that mean I don't want racial harmony in my community? What foolery is that? And I put this thing up. People loved it. And then the young, white, liberal art community in my borough and abroad found out about it. This got to come down. This is coming from a white supremacist racist. He supports Trump. Somebody even said, I think it's the most beautiful thing. And then she wrote, until I found out who put it up. Now I fucking hate it. Excuse me. So do you see where I'm at here? Yeah. Do you see where I'm at? And I'm the guy who could have made my millions if I succumbed to the isms of that left-leaning art world.
You can't back down.
No.
You can't, because first of all, you stand up for what you believe in. The cause is greater. And, just as you were describing, the monument that you were putting up, I got it right away. You have two groups of kids reaching for peace. I mean,
like Iwo Jima. It was copied from Iwo Jima.
It's a brilliant piece when you think about it, but because we don't like the artist, the piece is no good. Well, you don't have to like the artist. There's a lot of artwork we see, and people don't even know who made it. But at the end of the day, you did something that was good. But if people back down for what they stand and believe in, then we believe in nothing, right? We lose everything that
you
stand for something, or you fall for anything.
Absolutely, right. That's true. Right.
It's your service, okay? Right. I travel the country, and I paint flags on veterans posts. I ran around the whole country, the East Coast, with this giant 22 I made. And I put the two twos backwards so it created an empty heart. And I had 22 figures, and I lit it up. I went to each town on the East Coast to bring attention to the 22 veterans that commit suicide every day.
Yeah. Wow. It's just funny you bring that up, and Ed can probably speak to this. We've had a real issue with a challenging culture with suicides in policing for years on end. We just lost someone recently in the 73 precinct. And, one of these things that I'm sure that you struggle to grapple with on a regular basis is you have a strategy that you want to introduce, but in many ways you are being counted by the department.
Right.
And how do you deal with things like that?
It's you just can't quit. The department implements their own policies, kind of like what you're dealing with. You have the opposition. They believe that what they're doing works. I think if we look historically at what takes place, it doesn't work. Our numbers of suicides continue to increase. And the truth is the labor union's got to be more involved. The membership trusts the unions, so they have to be involved
But
with it.
doesn't this stem from the lack of respect and the humility?
A lot of it stems
this has
from-
been going on since this mayor started.
Right, absolutely.
This isn't just since
This
this.
mayor is doing a pretty good job of killing cops, more so than the people in the streets are doing. It's we've had 1, 2, 3 assassinations on police officers. Actually, I think it's even more than that. Several police officers killed as a result of just terrible policies that are in place. A city council that doesn't care. And we're seeing the ramifications of this type of governing across the country, where police are being targeted with assassinations across the board. So at the end of the day, I think what we're all saying is the way we were raised and brought up to value and respect the country and the flag is really, it's America. I traveled this whole country with John McCain when he was running for president. This country runs on pickup trucks, fishing, and guns. And mom and pop restaurants and some of the best people you're ever going to meet in a country are, in those Midwestern, southern states. When you go and bounce all over, you stay in some, hotels. They're not the big plazas of New York, but it's the core of America. It's the heartland of America, and that's what this country is.
Listen, this is every 4 years since 2006. I load up my truck that I painted red, white, and blue, and I travel to every state in one sitting. 10 months, and I drive, and I find walls, veterans posts. I live off the land. I sleep in my tent. Some people put me up in a nice hotels. Most of the time, I'm just living off the land and living with Americans. See, here's the thing. Everybody, back to these young, the young anarchists, socialists who want to change everything in America. And everybody's like, oh my God, everything that happens in a big city, that's what it means because it's in a big city. There's 8 million people in New York. There's 3 million people in that city. There's 300 million people, and I call them the gears that keep this machine moving. Those are the people that make the decisions.
This country runs on trucks. Here on the East Coast, you think it's all Mercedes-Benz and BMWs. This runs on trucks, pickup trucks, the Teamsters, the truckers, the big, rig drivers. They run this country.
It's interesting.
That's what's happening now.
The United States, we have 300, anywhere from 30 to 60 million people. 360 million people in one country. Believe it or not, we have the third highest population in the world. We don't got to tell you number 1 is China, number 2 is India, and we are a distant third. But when we look at the values in our country, it's far multifaceted than what we see on television. We see the anarchists that are demonstrating in places like Portland, Chicago, Los Angeles, but that is not the sentiment of the United States.
No.
I was an army
The
officer.
media wants you to not think that.
Well, the reason why
cover.
the reason why the media portrays that because it gives us sensationalism for viewership. I was stationed in Texas for a number of years. I got the chance to go. I've been to Wyoming. I've been to a multitude of different states. Not as vast as extensive as you have, Scott, but I have seen what this country represents. And the gross majority, or I should say the vast majority of American citizens are people that are willing to get behind the social contract that police are here to introduce.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
It's far
that-
greater than.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that we have a lot of Democrats that are in a lot of these cities, particularly the large cities, and that's the sentiment of acrimony that's being introduced. But that gross majority of Americans stand behind the flag. They don't kneel when the flag is raised at a sporting event, and they are patriots. But what we see is something that's very different. So when we think in terms of the message that you're moving forward and the membership that you represent, that is America. It's not what we see on television. So what we really need to do, and I give you credit for this, Ed, because you're looking to sow the seeds of calm from the perspective of a police organization and the community. And what you're doing is you're coming into the same fold, but we need to do more as a nation in terms of trifurcating the three components of police executives, elected officials, and community leaders. We need to have those back channel negotiations between those entities to gain a level of a solution that we can plausibly move forward. But the problem that we have is we have elected officials that are spewing the same hate and acrimony that people such as these groups that are driving this narrative that's anti-police. Jumaane Williams is the public advocate, and if you ask me, I think he would be greater suited protesting with Antifa than he would be to represent the citizens, the 8.5 million citizens of New York. Corey Johnson is another lunatic that is driving this flag of venom and acrimony that's getting us nowhere. You clearly see that your practices are not moving us forward. In the wake of the death of George Floyd, there's been acrimony all over the country, but I've yet to see an elected official that's come out and said, look, you know what? I understand your sentiment of what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota, but that's not here. That's 1,000 miles away from here.
No elected official said what you said, that George Floyd was hijacked by this whole movement. Not one elected official said that. And yet, all of this has started over that. So, some of what you're explaining, we're all doing our role, right? We're all playing some kind of role to keep America on track. You're under fire right now. You got an idiot mayor. You got a summons. I know you can't talk about certain things, and I wouldn't recommend that you do. But where does that place you now? Like, I can tell from talking to you, you're not quitting. This has just only ignited you to go to the next level. Okay, so now where do you go? You're going to continue in your direction to push patriotism,
yes,
and take a position, right? What do you got planned?
I started this thing back in the 90s, like I said, when I got my calling to show what's good about America, bring that flag to life, three-dimensional on walls and everything. But I also saw political correctness rear its ugly head at the same time, okay? And I said, this is not good. This is going to grow if we don't put a little bite on it. And it grew, and it grew, and I would be on the front page in handcuffs because, the school on the Upper West Side decided not to conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. By state mandate, you have to. And this liberal school district, at the public school said no. And this is 2 months after 9/11, might I add. 2 months after 9/11, he said, no, we're not doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I compare it to the teachings of the Taliban. So blah, blah, blah. I went up to the school with some water-based paint. I painted the flag on the school.
I remember this.
Got handcuffed.
Remember this.
Blah, blah, blah. So, Scott, look at him on the front page of the Post in handcuffs. That crazy Scott, what's he up to? Yeah. And that happened a few times, and a few more times. And here I am, not being able to use the verbiage. I was using my gift. I'm warning you.
Right.
And here we are.
We're in a revolution without weapons right now.
Excuse me. I'm getting fired up. Look what political correctness has done. It has devoured our way of life. Okay? And this city is the perfect example. Look at this place. It's become a shithole. This is the capital of the world, New York City. I'm 55. I've seen the progress. I've seen it up and down. This is disgusting. This bleeping mayor goes to sleep at night knowing that he's effing you over, and you, and you're a hardworking man, you black business owner, you gay business owner. He goes to sleep at night.
He's quoting Karl Marx.
Here's the criminals. Here you go. Here's Mets tickets. Here, we got speeding cameras. Yeah. We got thousands of them that are eating the people's money. Right. They're not even near schools where he claimed
to go feed into these other programs.
Let me continue my passion.
Thrive NYC, where we lost $900 million that's unaccounted for.
It's beyond insane, okay? So, my fight is always going to continue to the day I die, is to preserve what is great about this country, to build up people like you who served, because I'm a crazy son of a bitch. I didn't have the balls to go to war on what you did. So I turn around and use my art to thank you.
Well, you going to war on the streets
for my
of New York.
freedom to be a crazy son of a bitch. That's what it's all about.
You're going to
and
war
why
on
do
the
I
streets of New
respect
York.
the police too? You know, hey, listen, I got pulled over one time, some cop years ago. This guy hated me. I don't know why, if I slept with his girlfriend or something that happened back. This guy wanted me. He wanted me bad. And what did I do? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because I knew this guy had it for me. So I just went by everything by the book, blah, blah, blah. But the big story is, you guys are protecting my mom and dad. You guys are, you're police. So I have to return the favor. Why? Because I don't have the balls to do what you do. So I have a gift, and that's what I use to show, to shine a light on what you guys did, whether it was in war or whether it was out in the street in the war in New York City. So I'm not doing anything special. I'm getting a little tired of people saying, oh, you're a celebrity, you're a hero. I'm no fucking way, excuse me. I'm no way am I a hero. I'm just a guy doing my job.
After you cursed like 25 times, man. You
Because I
all the way
promised I
in,
would
man.
hold it.
Dive in the pool, Scott.
But I'm sorry, and let me just finish what you asked me about the blue line. So, the DOT gives me a letter. Okay, cease and desist letter. Now, this happened right after, I'm sure everybody in the world knows by now, when they hung that giant 20-foot by 30-foot banner underneath, over the overpass of de Blasio wearing a Che Guevara shirt holding the severed head of the Statue of Liberty. It went worldwide. The next morning, the blue line I did a few days before that.
Right.
The next morning, I get the letter from the city. What do you think it's from?
Stifling your First Amendment rights.
But it means nothing.
Oh.
I publicly made a public response because I had to respond to them. I made it public on social media. I said, here's your letter. Here's my response. Stick this where the sun don't shine. It ain't worth the paper it's printed on. Until you show me the letter that you gave to the mayor for doing his artwork without a permit, maybe I'll do something. When you show me the letters that you sent to those thousands of people, graffitiing on film, destroying all the city public property, did any of them get a letter? No, they didn't. So this ain't worth shit. And what I did was, I blew it up, big copy of it, and I made it worth something. I painted a portrait of me rolling a blue line across it.
Oh, wow.
Now it's up for auction on my website. The money is going to go to the New York City Cops and Kids Boxing Club. Back to
Good cause.
police and community
Really
working
good cause.
together. These evil cops who are so bad and they hate the community. Think about that. Kids in minority neighborhoods that are troubled and lost, they bring them in for this. Great organization. It's up to $6,000. Got 2 more days to bid, and somebody's even going to match that, and all that money goes to them.
Nice job.
So if you go to
Thank
my
you.
website, I'm sure they'll give you the information about that later on.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. I got my legal team who are waiting to see, pending, do we file a lawsuit because I was discriminated against because I'm a conservative leaning artist and I support the men and women in blue? That's the only reason I got the goddamn ticket in my eyes. That's obvious.
Well, I can tell you, there's probably not too many tickets to issue for all the graffiti that was being done with all the protests going on. So, what you did is a protest supporting blue.
what's
where's
the
the
problem?
difference?
What's
You know,
the
where's the
difference?
Scott, do you have any other, because we're all big fans, so you're preaching to the choir, but moving forward, I'm sure you have a website. In addition to your website, do you have any other projects that you're working on that we can look forward to seeing in the future?
Do I? Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna just give my website so people can go and look at that artwork and bid on it if you want. Remember where the money's going. It's a great thing. You wanna defund Mayor, buddy? You wanna defund the police? Well, we're funding the police. ScottLoBaido.com. Check it out. What's next?
Hold on one second, Scott. You said ScottLoBaido.com. You may want to spell it because I'm a black guy. I may not be able to spell
Listen, I got
LoBaido,
Italians that can't spell my
I spell
name.
LoBaido, Lebedo. Is that the way you spell it?
No, but you're close enough.
All right, cool. So spell it out for us, Scott.
Scott LoBaido, ScottLoBaido.com, ScottLoBaido.com.
Do you have a social media outlet that you use as
Yeah,
well?
I got Instagram and Facebook and all that.
All right, why don't you express that as well?
I don't know what they are.
You don't know, Scott?
I just go
Scott,
on
you the
social
king,
media.
man. Yeah.
Listen, I'm supposed to be being creative and painting and stuff.
Okay.
The social media, I got other people
Got other people
that
doing
me.
it for him.
But
Okay.
this is important right now. Everybody, again, I've been an actor for a long time, and people look to me.
And this
go
is your
in
next
there.
project?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
the next.
This is what we
there's
wanna
many.
look out for.
This is the one you want to look out for.
Okay.
Okay. people look to me, Scott, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Whatever it is. I mean, one time, 10 years ago, they took the Christmas tree out of the Staten Island ferry terminal because somebody was offended. So I dressed up as a Christmas. Scott, what are you going to do? How are you going to fight? I dressed up as a Christmas tree. I built my own Christmas tree, and I walked around the ferry. I had interviews. NBC was interviewing a Christmas tree. It was beautiful. It was one of my biggest, people just loved it. So anyway, there's a million of those things. I go out there and I fight for the people who can't say anything, whether it's you guys or you guys. And people have been reaching. I've been wanting to do a rally against this mayor and for the people to express their grievances.
You may get 8 million people show up for that one.
And I've been waiting because I'm tired. I get tired of people saying, I'll be there. I'm right by your side. What do you need? I can pick this up. And then when I reach out to them, those people, oh, I can't, I'm afraid, or I can't. Now, I can't go down the street without people saying, Scott, you gotta do something, you gotta lead us, you gotta bring it, we're ready to fight. I just lost my restaurant liquor license because of this prick.
He's shutting it, you're right.
So, and it's this guy, and this is my gay friend who owns a florist, or whatever, everybody. This isn't a pro or anti-anything rally. This is for New Yorkers who have been
victimized by their own government.
And this is the future of your kids. Don't run. Don't move to Jersey. Stay here. Captain Perry, greatest quote, and I use it all the time, and that's the name of this rally. In the Battle of Lake Erie, he said, don't give up the ship. We cannot give up the ship. And now that I know the people are fired up, I started the whole thing. I got my team. We have to have at least 50,000 people. I got my permits in. I got everything going. I want you people to be there, okay? August 22nd. It's a Saturday, 12 to 3. I'm not giving the exact location out right now for obvious reasons. I need everybody to go to my website because there is a form that you are going to fill out. Very simple. You're going to give your information of how you are going to participate because I need generals in each borough, okay? I can't do it all. I have my own team here to spearhead the thing, and then we're going to get everybody, you get your own buses. We work as a team, but we are going to be there in the tens of thousands because if we are not, we lose. Can we get this mayor to step down? There is a possibility. This is historical here. And you know what? People say, well, what about the next guy that comes up? Williams, he's worse than him. Then we go after him if he's just as bad. Okay. People, I'm aggravated. You should be, I know you're aggravated. So, you got to be part of this.
You know,
so
he's
Scott,
the only mayor.
On the 22nd, I want to be clear. That's when you're organizing for this rally, correct?
Yes,
and we need to go to your website, and that's where we can download this form as to how we can assist. Next week, I should say this week, we're having a Back the Blue rally here in Brooklyn in Marine Park, where Ed Mullins will be speaking. Am I correct, Ed?
I guess I am.
12:30. He signed up. Okay. No, 12:30. But listen to me, Scott. This is important. 12:30 this Sunday, we're going to have a march in Marine Park, and it's a Back the Blue rally. Forgive me. See, I'm getting caught up in your sentiment here, Scott. You're killing me, right? Forget about it, man.
Getting the fire in.
Right. So we do these things quite often. Ed is at the forefront every week. I see him marching in these rallies, giving speeches, and this is Backing the Blue. Once again, we're speaking for that silent majority, and I'm glad that you're getting on board. It would be great to see you this Sunday. But that being said, Ed, do you have any additional rallies coming up that citizens in New York can patronize?
We don't, but the Don't Give Up the Ship rally, that's a big message.
This is the one.
That's a big message, and you know, I can tell you, we're going to help push that out and get support for it.
On board.
What's occurring in this city is terrible, and you're right. You can't give up the ship. The city's worth fighting for.
It is.
This mayor's got to go. Corey Johnson's got to go. We need a whole new city council.
Jumaane Williams needs to go too.
It's just not fair to the people that live in here, especially these hypocrites want to talk about, you know, the Black Lives Matter issue. No one is defending that 1-year-old child gardener that was killed in Brooklyn. No one. Still
We're
unsolved
spending
case.
more money. We're spending more money on erecting a Black Lives Matter mural and preserving and protecting
And
it
Scott-
in front of Trump
Scott's
Tower
right.
than we are
Right.
for investigative purposes on catching the person that
You're
killed that
100
1-year-old out in Brooklyn.
100% right. It's a movement, and everybody, I think, understands what's taking place with it, and everybody agrees with it. It's the lives do matter. We get that, but it's been hijacked, and now it's eroding away on government. It's eroding away at the city, and it's eroding away in the black population. When you see the shootings, we're up 177% in shootings in New York City. 177%. Homicides are skyrocketing, and I haven't seen anybody paint the name of any one of those children in the street.
Not one.
I haven't seen the mayor go into those neighborhoods and talk to people. Nothing. So you're on target with it. We want to promote that rally. It's time for the people in this city to take it back.
Again,
and
there's no-
you're serving your purpose.
It's
in life.
not an anti or pro anything. It's not a pro-Trump
It
rally.
doesn't
it's
have
not
to
a
be.
pro-Biden.
Right.
It's not. It's about you.
It's a pro-New York
about you,
rally.
the New Yorker.
Right.
I don't care who you are, what color you are, what race, what creed, what gender, who you sleep with. You're a New Yorker. That's what New York is. It's all of those things. We're a melting pot of magic people. And
Hey,
this
Scott.
is your city.
Scott, who we sleep with? Hey, now come on, now, man. I thought me and you were sleeping with one another.
Only on the weekends. Only on the weekends.
Only on the weekends. You know, it's funny. We hear about Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter. Do all lives matter? Hell yeah, they do. Therefore, you're the actor, director, and producer in your life. So make your life matter. We're talking some real terminal issues that are impacting on us as New Yorkers. And it's just so fortunate that we have a multi-layered approach in terms of the three of us. We represent different aspects of being New Yorkers. Now, that being said, I want to get both of you gentlemen's opinions on what are the top 2 most important issues in this city that you feel have not been effectively represented by this mayor. Starting with you.
There's a
The
whole-
top 2.
there's a
No.
whole bunch.
I don't need 600
I think
because I know you got 601. But we want 2.
Mental illness and
Mental illness?
homeless combined, I think is a,
Mental illness and
The
homeless.
homeless have been totally ignored in this city.
You know what? We'll give you 3 then, okay? Because I know what the third is, but shoot.
And crime is going through.
Okay,
the-
cool.
Yeah.
So mental illness,
Well, I tie those
homeless.
two together because
Okay.
some of homelessness is a combination of mental illness, and we're allowing people who have real issues to wander the streets. They create other issues, and
Okay.
there's a combination of that there. But the crime, this mayor has no interest in the crime.
It's funny when you speak to the homeless crisis. When you look at San Francisco, you have more people that live on the street in San Francisco than residential housing, and that tidal wave is coming this way at 100 miles an hour. Scott, let me hear your top 3.
I'm going to say crime.
Crime is your number 1.
Top 2, crime.
Okay.
Always.
Believe it or not,
well-being of
Ed
the
Mullins,
community.
as a police union rep, crime was number 3 in his book. So that just goes to show you how even keel he is. All right, so
And
crime is
my
number 1 with you.
Second one is the mayor of the city has sworn an oath to represent every New Yorker in the city, and he does not.
That's a good one.
That
Okay.
is a
He's
bad
right.
thing to do in a big city like
That's
this.
a very good one.
Okay, and that's what's painful. And there is, I guess maybe it's a national thing. I want to bring something up that nobody wants to bring up, and I'm going to be the guy to bring it up, and I'm glad I'm here with a black guy to bring it
But
up.
I want to hear your 3 though. You gave me crime number 1.
You said 2, and originally you said 2.
But then
Now you change it to 3.
I
took
gave
my-
it
you
to
took
3
my
because
two
I
and a
gave
half
him
and made it
no.
3.
I gave him 3, so it's only right that you get 3. Crime number 1. The mayor's inability to represent the different
that's a big
classes
one.
in the city.
That's a big one.
And what's number 3?
I would think I guess the homeless things back to.
Okay.
I'm going to agree with you on that
Homelessness.
because that does play a role into,
Okay.
how things happen. Back to with the crime, it's that whole bail
Okay.
reform thing, and this. You get this.
All right. I just want to stop you right there. I got your 3. My 3, the mayor is number 1, the mayor is number 2, and the mayor is number 3.
He wins.
Those are my top 3.
He wins.
Winner.
Okay.
Winner. I'm going to just briefly bring this up, and hopefully it does catch on, and it may continue. And in regards to race relations, okay, I think that there is a conversation that needs to be had, and the problem is that I don't think it will ever happen, and I'll tell you why it won't happen until we fix something, and we need to fix again my worst enemy that I've been fighting for 30 years is political correctness. It's a matter of, if we had a forum in this big auditorium and a community of leaders were in there, black and white and other ethnicities, and the dialogue started, okay? Hypothetically, I'm the white guy, you're the black guy. Just per se.
Get out of here. I thought I was the white guy. Oh, okay.
I'm Sicilian, so we're pretty much the same.
Forget about it.
And I open up and I say, well, here's a problem I see with the black community. Buzzer goes off, I'm a racist, I'm done. That's the problem. On any way you go.
We should have an open communication on this.
It's got to be raw.
No, you're absolutely right.
Let me finish. Let me explain what really needs to happen. It needs to be raw, and the way it is, I don't want you to hold anything back, and I'm not going to hold anything back. Me, meaning somebody who's on the thing.
Right.
And the most important thing at this forum is there can be no sensitive, triggered snowflakes that are going to lose their shit no matter what they hear. They have to be outside.
Well,
the
no,
forum.
Scott, I disagree with you. I think there's certain things
they have
that you
to be
shouldn't.
Outside.
I think there's certain things. I think a racial discourse is necessary between African Americans, Latinos, and Caucasians. But I think there's certain parallels that should not be a part of that conversation. One, name calling.
No, yes. No. You got me wrong.
Right. Or a vitriolic exchange. It needs to be something that's calm and consistent with what's happening.
100%, but it has to be honest. It has to be honest.
There are a lot of black people that want to have that conversation. But
we could do that.
I would love to do something like that
in a bigger room.
Nobody's doing it, and that's what
the problem
it.
is, as you mentioned, the PC culture. There are things as an African American male that I don't like in this city, and I'll tell you this: you will find this very surprising. Many African Americans are going to be very hard on other African Americans because when you look at the gun violence that's plaguing the communities of color, they tend to be the overwhelming recipients. When we look at the homicide rate in New York, who's dying? And the reason why we're dying is because the level of accountability needs to be higher, coupled with the necessary resources in those targeted communities.
That's a great idea.
Wait, but you're getting detailed. I don't want to get detailed. Right. We want to save that. I'm just saying that we need to start it.
Oh, so you gotta pay for that one, right there. Okay. That's not free.
We need to start it, and when I say political correct, I don't mean we're gonna be calling no name calling, none of that.
We're
it's just about
real issues.
On stuff. But Seinfeld. He's like, I can't go to colleges anymore. Seinfeld, the cleanest comedian in the world. He can't do colleges anymore because these triggered little kids.
I'm a college professor, so I understand that.
They're like, you can't say that. It's out of control, and that would destroy the dialogue.
You're absolutely
There's going to be Caucasians who are going to be afraid to be honest, and it has to be an honest conversation because they're going to be destroyed by the public and the media.
That's the only way you're going to get to the root causes of a lot of the vitriol that's plaguing our society.
We're going to set it up. We're going to do it here. We're going to set it up. And we're going to bring in people, and between all of us, and the people I've been
I ain't being the guy.
No, you don't have to be the guy, but you can be the guy.
I would love to.
And between the people, we had meetings with people. We're bringing people from around the city and have real hardcore conversations. We'll bring cops to the table, working cops to the table, not the uptown brass that doesn't get it. We'll bring them to the table, and we're going to have this taped so that we can put it out and let people see how people can talk through all of these problems.
Even if it's a little
and
ugly.
We'll gain an inch every time we do it, every time we do it, and move it forward. You're going to be my cameraman for this, so make sure you're out there for it.
I'm in wholehearted agreement with this, and it just...
I'll be backing out now.
Not even close.
I see the two-step coming.
The problem that I have as an African-American male is you have these lunatics that were part of Occupy City Hall and a lot of this other cesspool of anarchy that's been plaguing the city that have been at the forefront of being believed as the voice of the African-American community. That's not it.
We bring credible people.
Can't exist in this conversation.
And normal people
they don't have a right
table.
They don't have a right to be in this conversation.
They
I will say that.
But that's who people are seeing as being propelled to the forefront.
The news media is propelling them to the forefront. They're not talking to the people in Brownsville, the people in East Flatbush, up in the Bronx. They're not talking to the people. You don't see a news camera asking them the questions of what goes on. They're not the ones that are doing it. But we spoke with the clergy. They're out there. They're speaking to the people.
They're on board.
And
They're on
they
board.
speak for the people. And if the news media doesn't want to cover it, we'll force them to cover it. We'll tape it, we'll put it out on YouTube, and we'll let a nation watch. And all we want to do is grow an inch
Bingo.
every time we have a
That's
meeting,
how it
and we will
happens.
set a direction for the country.
Ed had a clergy leader in this building a couple of weeks ago that represents 2 million Hispanics. And that voice is not being heard. If anything, the Hispanic community has been drowned out in the wake of what's happening with the death
I didn't
of
think about
George
that.
Floyd.
Sure.
Right. They don't have a voice the way they have in the past. They need to be brought into the equation because out of the 8.5 million people, 2 million Hispanics don't have a voice.
But we do it. It's a great idea, and we have the opportunity, we have the resources, we know people to start it, we set the model, and we do it that way. So now,
I'm in.
great ideas lead, we
I
build
want a
on
seat
it.
at the table.
But I'm
with
glad I
this.
got that
Build
out
on it.
because it's hard for me to explain that
Yeah.
in a
But you're
2-minute
right,
thing
that's what's
on
required.
the news and say,
Right.
this is how we do it, and then it's twisted. So I'm glad I get to just
No one wants
throw
to
it
do
out
it because you have a lot of cowards at the forefront. This PC culture has been has played
There
the
are
role of
people
dominance.
that I've had a lot of conversations. I mean, I've spoken to the King family, a couple of years
Where
back.
they're split because you have, I think, the sister is
There's a split. but-
extreme right wing conservative,
Right.
and the
But
son
this isn't about
is,
being conservative or Republican or Democrat.
it's-
This is about human beings putting your pants on the same way.
No,
we
I
got up
got what
today.
you're saying.
Big
I got
boy,
what
This
you're
is
big
saying.
about
boy
talking
pants,
about
big boy pants.
real issues. Somebody has to lead. There's no leadership. So someone's got to
People
lead.
they fear
to say-
because of the political correct
absolutely.
agenda.
It's okay
and
to
you
say
can't
Merry
blame
Christmas.
them. You can't
Right.
blame them.
I disagree.
Well, you got to be able to stand up.
You got, yeah, exactly. You got to stand
If you're
for
going to
something.
be
you fall
labeled,
for
everybody's
anything.
labeled a racist. Everybody's labeled anti-Semitic, anti-gay. They label you crazy. You said it earlier, crazy Scott. They label you crazy when you speak facts. That's when you get labeled crazy, because they discredit you by labeling you crazy. But the person labeled crazy is probably telling you the truth, and that's what usually happens. So, talk about pushing the envelope to the edge. Let's push it to the edge. I'm all for pushing it to the edge.
Hopefully, we can get a couple of elected officials, and I think a good person to have.
If we want to make
Just-
progress, we should bring them in last, because they don't really care.
Kind of agree a
Well,
little bit.
no. This is if you can fold the narrative into look. This is what's happening out here, and this is what you're missing. I give you an example. Charles Barron is the biggest lunatic on the face of this earth in terms of politics and representing a particular group of people. Charles Barron is an assemblyman out of. He represents Brooklyn, East New York. That sentiment is 1960s, 1950s. It does not equate to what we're dealing with in current times. If we can introduce to these political leaders that, hey, look, you got this thing wrong. This is the direction that the African American community wants to go in. We may have ability to impact on their thought process. I know Ed probably says that he's an absolute lunatic. I don't even want him in the building, and I got all
Well,
of
you know,
that.
the thing is, you can
But-
listen to anybody, but the politicians will only listen to the people who vote for them. And how you get them to listen to them, it's not by me and you. We're not going to vote for them. It's by the people in their districts and their communities, and that's why we use the clergy. The clergy's there, and they speak for the people in the community who now elect their officials. So we need to teach them what they refuse to listen to all along.
I got that. I just think that, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just think a lot of these hardened politicians that only see things from a monolithic perspective don't understand that their message is outdated and we're moving forth.
And then we're going to
in a
show it to
different
them. We're going to
path.
show them they're
We'll
outdated.
start it raw. We'll talk about it.
Scott, we're going to have to
We'll
wrap
get
it up,
that.
but I really want to thank you for taking the position you do, for supporting law enforcement, and I'm going to say for law enforcement across the nation, because it's very rare today that people come out public and do that, where they speak for law enforcement, but what you're doing is being watched across the nation and globally, as you just said, so definitely thank you. I want to have you come back again.
Yeah.
I want to see what you do on that card,
Yeah,
and we're
I'm
going to
down
get
with
him
that.
into the
I'm
room
excited.
for that round table, so thank you for watching.
Be at the rally.